Today's episode is sponsored by Thompson Insurance Group. They're committed to helping you manage the risks that arise in everyday life. They want your insurance to work hard for you and your family. Let them help you find the right protection while giving you peace of mind knowing you're covered. That's Thompson Insurance Company, located in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Hey guys, it's Erica Scosio here with Practical Biz Podcast, and we have an exciting guest today that is from a very resourceful organization called S.C.O.R.E. And today's episode is how to score more for your business. So welcome to our show.
Thank you, Erica. Thanks for having me on.
So for the folks that are just tuning in who are not sure what S.C.O.R.E. means, can you talk a little bit about what it means and a little bit about S.C.O.R.E.?
Sure. Well, actually, let's just start with the name, right?
Yeah.
S.C.O.R.E. stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. They don't use that anymore, but that's how it all started off. The idea was that way back in the 60s, they saw that there were all these executives who were retiring with lots of business experience and wanted to give back to the community. And there were a lot of people who were starting new businesses, had a lot of domain experience, were very passionate, but really didn't have a lot of business experience. So the idea was, why don't we get them together? We'll get these executives to volunteer their services to help out the people who wanted to start new businesses or build small businesses. And it worked out great. And now the organization is over 10,000 people nationwide, all across the country, almost all volunteers except for a few people. It's been just a great success story in helping to get small businesses going. We started out just with the mentoring, but we've since added libraries of information that people could use. And we also run, just on a regular basis, lots of online help, both recorded and live events.
Wow, that's awesome. So I did take a peek at the website, and there were a couple of things I thought was really unique or different about your group. Obviously, tapping into the years of experience, it to me is amazing and such a wonderful resource.
Yeah.
So thank you for volunteering your time.
Yeah.
What I thought was nice when I looked at the website was it wasn't only though focused on starting your business, but also once you've started and you've done pretty well, there were also avenues to help grow your business. Or if you were maybe on the other end and you wanted to implement an exit strategy, there were also folks there to help you do that too.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting. And then I did find 454 pre-recorded webinars. So, I mean, there's literally a library sitting there to help you. And it was all very easily findable. I'm not the most tech savvy lady in the world. I can find my way around a computer, but I wouldn't say super tech savvy. It was very easy to use, very easy to find. So I thought that was great. And then if somebody was looking for a mentor, I also found it was very easy to figure out how to do that as well.
Yeah, we're always inviting people to come into mentoring, and that's what we're best known for.
Yeah. So as a business coach, that is primarily what I do here at Stellar Business Concepts, which produces the show. And I do feel like although there are books you can read and webinars and all of these wonderful resources, I think having a mentor is just something that has been instrumental with the growth of my business, which I have multiple businesses, but the gentleman that told me about S.C.O.R.E, Ed Alves, is my business coach and has been for almost 5 years. And he was very helpful in scaling up our business and, kind of looking at all the pros and cons of that and what way to go. And sometimes his advice would be almost reflective, because sometimes you might kind of blow it off a little and then you're like, they're right. You know what I mean? Right. So thank you for sharing a little bit about S.C.O.R.E and their history. So let's talk about the quality of the mentors. So let's talk a little bit about you as a person, right? So you said you had a marketing background. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started off, some of my earlier jobs were in sales and also in engineering undergraduate. And then I moved to marketing and kind of worked for a variety of small businesses, some technology businesses, and basically helped grow a whole bunch of businesses into larger businesses, sometimes enterprise. Sometimes we sold out to larger businesses, and it was a fun, successful career. So I sort of joke that I'm doing what I always did. I'm just not getting paid for it now.
So I would say you're pretty good with strategy then.
Yes, that's probably one of my my key.
It's my favorite. It's
Yeah,
my favorite, which is
marketing strategy.
why I immediately picked up on that. So most of the folks that listen to our show, that is maybe an area that they struggle with, is like, how do I connect with new customers, especially since the world is changing so quickly? So what would you say to those folks that are just trying to figure it all out?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because what happens when I find that, because I'm doing a lot of mentoring specifically in that area, is that people come to me with this thought of, gee, I'd really like to get out there and be more successful on social media. And I start by asking them, well, who are you trying to connect with? What do you have to say that's different? Where do those people that are your audience, where do they hang out on the internet? I mean, there's billions of people out there. You need to know where to find them. And a lot of times they haven't thought through those questions. And that's what we sit down and do first, right? That I consider the foundation that you need to lay before you start getting to sort of the tactical execution of how you're going to actually do it.
So Jeff, would you say then posting isn't marketing? Wait, but I post every day. So that is very, very good advice. And so that is one of the things that I find too as a business coach when I sit down with folks, they just kind of want to jump ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they don't a lot of times have a business plan. Right. Because if you have a business plan and you asked me, who is my customer? Where is my market? I've already done that work.
Exactly.
So, that's one of the reasons why having a business plan is so important, because you're laying down, and certainly that changes, but you've done some upfront research so that when you're ready for that. So this is something that before somebody comes to a mentor and say, hey, I need that, think about these things. Like, what are you trying to do? What are your goals? What are you selling? Is it a service? Is it a product? Who are you selling it to? What to start? Like, there's a lot of things to think about before you start marketing.
Yeah, and a lot of what I do is help people through that process, right? Because when you're in the sort of the weeds of the situation, and of course maybe don't have that much background in marketing, it's often hard to figure those things out, right? Mm-hmm. So I sit down with people oftentimes and I help them understand what's really different about their product. What's the real value added to their customer? And a lot of times they haven't really thought about it. They've come up with a widget or come up with a business idea, or they've gone out there and done some things, but they haven't really thought through those in the level of detail that they need to really go out and successfully execute a marketing campaign.
Yeah. I think too, one piece of advice is to really think about, what problem are you solving?
Yes.
Right? Because we all want to sell the widget, but what problem does it solve?
Yeah, that is, that is exactly right. And there's a very famous marketing professor by the name of Clay Christensen who wrote several books, including The Innovator's Dilemma. But one of the books he wrote was about the idea of what's the job you do for your customer, right?
Yeah.
Think of it as the customer has a job to do, and what are you doing to help them do that job, right? Yeah. So that's exactly right.
Yeah. I think too, every business, no matter what you are doing, we're first customer service.
Yeah.
Right? And how are we serving that customer? Mm-hmm. Right? So, and then you can build a marketing campaign around that.
Yeah. So, and by the way, it goes way beyond marketing, right? You think about it, your product, your business, who you hire, all is based on those things you just described. Yep. So That's why I say it's so fundamental, so foundational to everything you have to do.
Yeah. I find it, do you find it fun?
Oh,
I do, right? I love building. I too would do it for free. I don't do it for free, but I have done it for free, which is how I ended up saying, "Oh, let me just make this real formal." But I do. I love talking about businesses, but even more, I love building businesses.
Yeah.
And it's so fun and fascinating. And do you find sometimes that you maybe get more excited about someone's business than they do? Have you found that?
Well, I don't want to say I get more excited about their business than they do.
Yeah.
But I will say that I just really enjoy getting involved, talking to people about their businesses, coming up with creative ideas, coming up with ideas for campaigns and messaging, et cetera. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I would say too, working with folks who have a lot of experience, they really help you find blind spots. Mm-hmm. that you don't anticipate, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that would be definitely a benefit. So tell me a little bit about if somebody goes down to S.C.O.R.E, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so you go onto their website. And if you happen to be in Rhode Island, it's SCORE.RI, but S.C.O.R.E is a national organization, so you can go to any part of the national website. And there are buttons there, several places that says ask for a mentor, right? And it'll ask you a few questions. Where are you located? What sort of help you looking for? What areas of business are you looking for help in, and some description of it. And then that'll get passed along to the organization. Usually within a couple of days, you'll get some sort of a response. We try to get it within the same week. Yep. It could be a little longer depending on who we're actually reaching out to. And then you'll get an email from a mentor saying, I've been assigned to your case.
Okay.
Let's get together. And we'll usually have, and then the first meeting. In the old days, it tended to be more face-to-face. Now it's more often happening on online, Zoom or something like that. And that'll kick off the process. And then it could be on a regular basis. It could be that until you get your questions answered. And sometimes it's just, one-off, I want to know how to incorporate and, explain that, and that's it. But more often we get into long-term relationships that can last years.
Yeah. So right now it's primarily Zoom at first, and then it kind of just goes based on what the person needs.
Yeah, and it of course it also depends on the distance. We're getting more into breaking down those geographic barriers. So, for instance, I have people I'm mentoring in the state of Washington, in Oregon, in California, all over the place.
Okay. So you said you helped scale up several businesses. We'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe some tips or strategies on what people should consider before they scale or...
Yeah. So I would say the first thing that I've seen is that you want to, if you're going to build your business, you want to make sure that you truly are building in a way that makes sense to the core business. One of the things that I do see from time to time is people, they have a business, it's going well, but it's not growing quite as fast as they like. So they want to jump out and do something else, right? Mm-hmm. And that something else, unfortunately, is something in a whole new business and a whole new area. And what it's going to do is, as hard as they're working already to keep that first business going, it's going to almost double the amount of effort. And that just makes no sense at all, right? You want to look for sort of a natural extension to your business, maybe adding some additional products.
Complementary to what you already have.
Adding a second location or a third location. Mm-hmm. In other words, build off of the success that you already have. Don't always just go looking for greener pastures on the other side of the fence. That would be one thing I would recommend.
Yeah. What would you say the traits are of the most successful entrepreneurs that you've worked with?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You know what? It reminds me of there's a famous saying from the beginning of a book called Anna Karenina, and it's that all happy families are similar and all unhappy families are different, right? Are unalike, right? And I think you could almost say the same thing for business, right? That is, a lot of the ones that are happy and successful tend to have common attributes, but all the ones that are not for a lot of different reasons. So some of the common attributes that you said, that you asked about, I would say that people, first of all, are just dedicated, right? They really made this their life's work, their focus. Now, I understand a lot of people actually start a business while they're doing, they're still in their day job, right? Until it can support them. So, but I mean that they're within the time constraints that they have available, that they're really focused on it.
The time that they make sure they make.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And it's hard. It's really hard because usually most businesses are not self-sustaining in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I think another common attribute is that people are flexible and adjusting as they learn, but they're not all over the place, right? So you want to be able to, you're going to learn, you're going to make changes, you're going to find out things you didn't know when you started. So you have to tune as you go along. But what you don't want to do is suddenly, drop what you're working on and go work on something else. And I've seen people who flip back and forth, and that rarely gets anywhere.
I think too, a skilled entrepreneur will pivot quicker than most. So if you see something's not working, you very quickly get on that.
Yeah.
And you learn about that thing and you make that change, and then you continue to learn and you make that change, and you continue to be very focused on where you want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think you don't have to wait till you hemorrhage money, or you're at a point, a breaking point of some type of resource. Not always money. Sometimes it's time, as you said. What would you say the hardest thing about starting a business in Rhode Island might be?
And I don't think Rhode Island's really any different than anywhere else in that respect. Any new business is hard to get off the ground. It's very, very unusual that going out and starting your own business is an easy thing to do, right? And you get a lot of psychic rewards when it comes to running your own business. It's for some people, it's just the most exciting thing they've ever done. Some people, once they get the taste of it, don't ever want to work for anybody else.
That is me. Never working for anybody else again, ever.
Right. But not many people will say, "Oh yeah, and it was real easy getting started."
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's challenging. It's challenging because, first of all, you have to do it all yourself, right? You probably worked for a business where there were people who had lots of different specialties and did lots of different things. And now suddenly you're
everybody and everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, very few businesses are self-sustaining from the beginning. So, getting it, I think one of the big thresholds, if you will, is getting to the point where you can actually, run that business and make enough income to say you move away from your day job or whatever else and really focus on the business and be successful.
So would that be fair to say then that you should really understand your numbers, your break-even points, knowing how much money you need to generate for it to even at least just break even where you're paying everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. So understanding that. So going back to S.C.O.R.E, would you say that there are certain services that people use more than others, or certain, specialties, or?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much across the board. Like I said, the mentoring is what we're best known for.
Okay.
And a lot of people only know about that, right?
Okay.
And then when they come in and they start the mentoring, then they start learning about the kind of resources online that you were talking about. And a lot of people take those, and we also guide people to those. Like, we'll be helping somebody out in a specific area.
They have to work in conjunction together.
Yeah. Say, hey, you should go and watch this seminar because I think you'll learn a lot that will be helpful to you. And then, the sort of just the physical resources, the documents and things like that, those are helpful. Although, frankly, you can get a business plan template lots of places. So that's not a real differentiator for us. It's the mentoring
It's the mentoring. Yeah. Yeah, which I agree. So I actually just wrote, and I did not pay you to segue into that. I just finished writing a business plan workbook for clients that I work with, and we use it in conjunction together.
Good.
So they come in, we talk about what they, it's each is a section, each year is a section, and we talk about, finding your target market, and then their homework is we're just working on that. And then once we've done that, we look at location, and we're very specific about that. And so we break it down into smaller pieces because it can get very overwhelming to do it on your own. No matter how skilled you are, like you said, you can be really skilled at your particular craft or trade.
Right.
But there are so many other things you need to know.
Right.
That are outside of that. Right.
I'm so pleased that you said location because it's so interesting. We talked about, how you can differentiate your business. And one of the things that I find is the most underappreciated things by people is location, right? Very few people want to travel 15, 20 minutes to pick something up, right? When there's something right down the street. And people often fail to understand the importance of location.
And the perceived value of that location.
Exactly.
That is also another thing. So that is something that I can say I've witnessed in my own business.
Yeah.
So we have this building and we have a building across the street. They're literally the same program, same owners, same pricing, same everything. And we will have people who say, no, I want to go to that building over this building.
Right.
Because there is a perceived value because this one is more homey looking.
Yeah.
And the other one is more commercial looking.
Yeah.
So, and again, it depends who the customer is because those who have really young children prefer the smaller homey one. Those who are preschool based prefer the more commercial one.
Yeah.
So just, the location of the building, the look of the building, just there's a perceived value just in your location alone.
Yeah.
Right? What you can charge for a particular product or service just on your location alone.
Oh, absolutely.
Also makes a difference. So,
yeah.
So before we wrap up, let me ask you maybe your top 5 tips that you would give to business owners. That they could be startup, it could be someone in the growth phase, it could be somebody exiting out. Give us 5 tips.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I already covered one, and that is to understand those fundamental things about whether you call it your value proposition, your target market, et cetera. I think that, and again, keep in mind, my background's in marketing, so most of the people I mentor are from a marketing standpoint. So that's the probably the number one items that I help people with.
Sure.
I think another one is the idea of or having availability of the a clear idea of how you're going to fund the business. Right now, I said once again, very few businesses are self-sustaining from day one. Right.
Right.
Great if you can get it, but it doesn't.
Usually I think that probably happens if you have something brand new to the market that no one else has, or you have been in the industry for such a long time that your name is now branded and wherever you go, people are following.
Yeah.
Most
people are not in that
easy.
situation.
Those are easy converts, but other than that, that's not normally the case.
And funding, it may be as simple as, well, I'm going to keep working, or I'm going to go to friends and family and pull together enough money to get this started, and try to have a reasonably good idea what that looks like through a business plan, through a financial plan. You can get help from people like yourself or from S.C.O.R.E or et cetera. So that would be the second one. Doing it on your own is hard, and doing it with others is hard. There is no easy path here, but there are clearly benefits to each approach, right? Doing it with partners, you have not only do you have the benefit of multiple hands, but you also have different skills that each person brings to it, right?
Yeah.
And it really gives you, there's something to be said for not being just all by yourself, but really doing it as a team. and can really be beneficial in that respect. The thing that you do have to be able to do if it is a team is be able to work together successfully. And not all teams make it through long periods of time. What does help, frankly, what I've seen is if you have a team, but one person is clearly the top person, the CEO. So in other words, a team of 3, but one person is clearly in charge. And that helps to, at least when you have disagreements, kind of figure out how you're going to go forward.
And so let me add another layer to that. Typically, that partner is a family member, right? It's often your husband, your wife, your sister, your brother, your cousin, especially in Rhode Island, which has other unique challenges as well. Actually, me and my sister own our business together.
Yeah.
And exactly what you said, we both have definitely different skill sets. A lot of places overlap, as you will find, but we definitely have different talents as well. So that does benefit the business because there are things she can do that I can't, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a way to, when you do partner with somebody, make sure you pick somebody who is bringing at least equally what you're bringing to the table to support the business, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's a case, where having that person really in both your business and your home life or your personal life, you have to be aware that that's going to create a certain amount of stress. So you have to make sure that you can work that out. A lot of people do just fine and are very happy with it. Some a little bit less so. Yeah. But it's just at least something.
Well, we still can stand each other 16 years later. We're still together. So.
And by the way, I've done things with family members and it brought us together.
Yeah.
We spend more time together.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my whole family works here. We have multiple locations, but there's a whole bunch of us. So, and then I guess maybe the last question that I'll ask you is how do you feel the importance of systems, building systems, operations, clarity? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so obviously, especially as a business grows, you have to do that. I find that in the very beginning, what you're trying to do is basically prove out the concept of your business, right? It's almost a, quote, proof of concept as a real business, right? And naturally, you're going to focus more on that than on getting all your systems in place, because you don't know, you need to know that the business is going to work out, right? And by the way, you're pretty busy doing that.
Yes.
But yes, then what happens is pretty quickly you have to start to find ways to automate things, make things go more smoothly. Accounting's, is a real easy one, right? Setting up a separate bank account, maybe getting a simple low-end accounting system so that you're not running around with, shoe boxes full of receipts.
QuickBooks is so easy. Yeah, QuickBooks is great.
And there's a lot of other ones online too now that are very, very easy to use, right? Same thing with things like sort of social media and if you're doing like online marketing and that sort of stuff. In the beginning, you might be doing a lot of this yourself, but if you get somebody who specializes in that area or a family member who knows that really well, and you can kind of offload.
Could not agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah, could not agree more. No, really though. But I mean, if your intent is to grow and scale your business, and not everybody's is, right? Yeah. Some people have a cap, but if you're working with your customers and working with your employees and taking care of your products and making sure you're getting the best prices on things, the last thing you have time to do is do your website, post on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all the rest, right? So, yes, it makes sense. Just as you would hire an accountant, you would hire a plumber or anybody else, right? That is,
and these are part-time freelance people. Yeah. It's not like you're having to
in-house
into a big business. But yeah, I the way I would differentiate that if people ask me was, look at the things that you're truly good at, that you enjoy, and that add value to the business. Focus on that.
All in on that.
and the things that you're not so good at, don't be afraid to hire somebody out on a part-time, as a freelancer.
Yeah, absolutely.
To do that work.
All right. So before we wrap up, can you look at the camera and give folks your contact information?
Sure.
They want to know more about S.C.O.R.E.
All right. So I'm Jeff Bodenstab. That's Jeff at bodenstab.com, and that's B as in Bravo, ODENSTAB as in Bravo.com. If you want to go to the S.C.O.R.E website, it's S.C.O.R.E, www.S.C.O.R.E.RI. And anything else I should be giving?
That they can find you that way.
Good.
So,
well, actually, let me add one other thing that's interesting, and that is who we'd like to reach out to, right? So first of all, of course, any person who'd like to start a business or has a small business, we're pleased and could use some help. Please let us know. We are always looking. We're always happy to help out anyone who would like some mentoring. Second of all, we're looking for mentors, right? Okay. So if you have the kind of experience as in any area, by the way, marketing, sales, finance, insurance. We even have lawyers who are on our team. We're very much looking for people who can help mentor small businesses.
Do they have to be retired?
No, not at all. You have to be willing to give the time.
Sure.
I sort of give the idea that, you should be thinking at least maybe 4 to 5 hours a month, which is, an hour a week kind of thing. But no, other than that, do not need to be retired. And then the third thing is we are, the SBA does pay for most of our expenses, always looking for somebody to help, a little bit extra sponsorship or donation, just to kind of close the gap to help us. And as you can imagine, we're all volunteer, so it's a very lean organization.
Sure.
We don't have any facilities.
I love the Rhode Island SBA here. I think our SBA is amazing.
Yeah. But anyhow, if someone's at a bank or at a business who might consider doing something like that, we always would be happy for a little bit of help.
Yeah. Do you, I do have one other question. Do you speak at like conferences and things like that?
Yeah.
So we're actually having a business summit September 21st at the to change the name, Event Factory.
Okay.
In Warwick. So yeah, I think we maybe can connect. We'd love to have you come out and meet some people and stuff like that. So
that'd be great.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about Jeff, reach out to them. And if you want to meet him in person, maybe you can come to our summit. So thank you so much for tuning into Practical Biz Podcast. Make sure if you like this video that you comment, like, subscribe, share, whatever you feel empowered to do. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rhode Island's fastest growing business podcast. Goodbye.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you. Super good. Business owner, are ready to get your startup? Well, started. Have a burning question you'd like us to answer? Want to know more about the services we offer? Or register for upcoming workshops and events? Looking to book a guest speaker? Or would like to be a guest on the Practical Biz podcast? Visit our website at StellaBusinessConcepts.com.